Greetings, Darklings, from across the interwebs. It is once again I, the Duchess Precious Ken, back for the Sounds and Shadows podcast. I have a very exciting guest. This one, I'm not going to reveal yet, but another one of those where we tried like 3 or 4 times to make the timing line up, and it just didn't happen. And so I'm so excited that it finally has for today. Before I get to that, I figure I will give a shout out here in video. I will probably be publishing tonight the October Sounds and Shadows Dark Scene Singles chart. And this is so cool. I noticed we have been doing this for a full year, which is crazy to me to think that just kind of Hyde and I were arguing one night about, hey, the charts that we do have, do they matter anymore? Do people go to these to find out new music to listen to and so on and so forth? And the system that's set up for a lot of them, which is kind of pay to play in some cases and things like that, does that kind of mean relevance? And so a year ago in October, I started just posing it as a thread to let people do their own votes for our Sounds and Shadows group. And it's just DJs, reviewers, super fans, promoters, just people in the scene getting to just vote for what they thought were the best new releases coming out. And then I would post them. So our newest one coming out, I'm just going to real fast read through it. That'll be cool. You can see this available on soundsandshadows.com for the Dark Scene Singles chart. But number 10 for October was Mona Muir, Dream Rider, which I'm just in love with that album and the interview that I got to do with her. What an amazing human and just cool sound. And then a Sounds and Shadows contributor, Carrion Hyde, had Count the Scars on Brutal Resonance. Very cool. Actors plus Boot Blacks doing a Bowie cover of Boys Keep Swinging. It is just fire. The video is amazing. Everyone in it just looks so gorgeous and so rock star. Must go check that out on YouTube. Morgue Witch and Alicorn did a single called Higher. I was happy to see this on. I'm happy for Tara that she has her music that is getting published back in her own name. So excited for her. Great single. Dog Tablet had a single Ashes for their new EP. Very, very cool. I mean, you can't go wrong. Martin King, living legend and great single. Dread Risks from Texas did Extinction Form. They had a brand new music video out for it. And that is also on Brutal Resonance. So very cool. My favorite gloom industrial band, really like them. Number 4, The Burying Kind, very special place in our hearts. Just that kind of came about as a Sounds and Shadows thing. And it is just mesmerizing, amazing shoegaze music made by a goth singer and an industrial drummer. So what's not to like? From Portugal, my voice crush, Pedro, I Am the Shadow. Another new album, another brand new sound, but the first single up here, The Wide Starlight on Cold Transmission Music, check that out. Object X was number 2 with a single called Out of Place, one that I didn't know a ton about, but got a lot of votes and a lot of people in, definitely a harder edge sound, so very cool. And then the number 1 went to Panic Priest with Angel Steel off Negative Gain. And you gotta love Jack, just absolutely amazing. One of the best baritones in modern dark wave goth. So great to hear that from Chicago, Panic Priest. Go check that out. So now that we have fired through the preliminaries, I received the other day one of these lovely little unboxings, and it was very opportune that I have this beautiful new t-shirt, which I will be wearing in a future podcast. But I felt it would be weird for this one, kind of like wearing the t-shirt of the band you're going to see, because I have with me none other than Rona Rogueheart of SINE. Rona, welcome to Sounds.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's really wonderful to be here.
Yes, we got to actually hang out, and I got to see you not long ago at the Cold Waves Festival in Chicago.
Yes, that was so great. I was really happy that we got to run into you because that, as you know, the place was so packed. I mean, it was like sardines, you know.
It
There were
was.
so many people that we missed, but I genuinely looked for tons of people. So it was just like a fluke that we ran into you.
You caught me
So
in my hiding phase because I saw so many people and talked to them. I kind of went to hide on a balcony for a while. And
yeah.
then, like a magical vampire, you and Curse just kind of like apparated right behind me. And I was like, oh my God, hello.
Yes, I know that's what happens. You just see a puff of smoke out of the side of your eye, and there we are. Happens. He does it to me too at home. You know, I'll be sitting there just in the kitchen and just poof, there he is.
So, you guys, right before you got there to Cold Waves, you had another wonderful experience right before that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the fun you had? I believe it was in Cleveland, right? Earlier that weekend.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
like seeing being in New Jersey and seeing the boss or something. Going to Cleveland right for the show. This is like home turf, the way to see it.
Yes, I guess he is the boss of Cleveland, you know. It's hilarious. Yeah, so we went to the Nine Inch Nails show with Nights Red there at Blossom in I think it's not exactly Cleveland, it's another city. I can't quite
Yeah.
remember. But originally we hadn't planned on going to the show, and it wasn't until I had got in touch with Bon from Nights Arab because Douglas had been out a few
Yeah.
days, and I wrote Bon and said I hope everything's okay, and hope Douglas is all right. And I said, oh, I'm very excited for your show in Cleveland. How wonderful, cool. And he said, oh, are you going to be there? Because if so, I'll take care of you. And I said, oh, well, that changes a lot. So I told Curse, I said, well, Bond said that they would take care of us as the NE, part of the NE fam. And I worked for a girl in Cleveland at House of Blues, and she has been excited about the show too. And she said, oh, if you and Curse come, you can stay with us. And I'm like,
Boom.
okay, that's two yeses right there. And so I'm like, okay, we just have to get ourselves up there, buy some flights, whatever. And then Curtis is like, I got a bunch of airline miles, points that I've been sitting on. Why don't we
I
just use
love this
those? And I'm like,
kismet. It's just
yes.
coming together.
Yeah, so that's really how it all came together. It was actually kind of funny. Um, but yeah, once we got there,
And then you got to jump on the tour and just
yes,
head over to Cold Waves too. It
with
all
yes, with Nights Arab,
I love
and
it's just all coming up Millhouse. I love it.
well, I know it's so nuts because again, it was the same thing. Vaughn had said, "Oh, you guys gonna come to Cold Waves afterwards?" And we're like, not unless you can take us." Hee hee. And they're like, "Okay." So everything just worked out, and I was just really happy because, Curtis has been a long time Cold Waves,
Sure,
family
yeah.
member, and so it was really great to have an unexpected trip there.
Yeah.
And at
That is
the
amazing.
Riviera. Yeah, the Riviera, right? Yes. That venue is really awesome. And
It was really
again, just
cool. I've seen a few really cool sets there. I'll tell you what, though, in particular, so I've seen Nitzarab a few times, and at different times in my life, often with like a decade, like 10 years in between. And I did not expect that to be one of the things that night that, because I've seen it before, but just blew my mind.
yeah.
Everyone there was kind of saying the same. I've seen Nitzareb before. That night, I don't know what it was, but it was pure magic. It was not just one of the best things I saw all weekend, but one of the best things I've ever seen from Nitzareb, even seeing them 20 years ago, and it
Yeah.
just incredible energy
Mhm.
and connection with the crowd that night.
Yeah, that was an explosive show. It was so wonderful. It's like everybody was just ready for it. I think Douglas had rested up a bit, so he was feeling
He
good,
was going like a madman out there.
Yeah, I know it's incredible, and and of course Bond, having done all those shows the past North American shows pretty much on his own. I mean, he's a firecracker too, and he just gets out there, and I don't know where he finds all that energy to keep dancing, but it's awesome.
Yeah. So now we've talked about a bunch of other people at the beginning of your interview. I'm gonna time to shift gears, Ken, get back to it. And I want you to tell me about there was a moment, I love asking the question this way, when you heard something, you saw something, you whatever it was, and you said, this is me. I this scene, this kind of like dark, dark scene got this is me, and that changed you and it propelled your history in some way. Tell me about what that was that made you want to be a part of this.
Two words: Depeche Mode.
I mean, those are two pretty good words. I, yeah, I mean,
It
Dave
that
Kahn in a leather vest has changed a lot of things for a lot of people, and I'm one of them.
Yes, I know. And same here. Truly, it was seeing Depeche Mode for the first time live that really made me go, that's what I want to do. And it was, I have two older sisters, and I, you know, lived in Houston at the time, and they were going to be at the Southern Star Amphitheater at Astroworld. And we had season passes as a family, so we would always get concert tickets. So anyone who lives in Houston would know that was just the case. So Depeche Mode was going to play there. Their opener was OMD, and my sisters were already hip to it. Yeah. And see, I was just a kid, and I'm like literally dressed in all pink. This is just absurd. You probably can't even, and I think I even had white kids. I
Oh,
swear.
nice,
Yeah,
nice.
I was still very unaware of coolness. So my two cool sisters bring me to Depeche Mode because my parents were just like, just take Rona with you,
That's
whatever.
awesome that you had like hip, cool sisters to show you stuff.
Yes, and I was very thankful for that. So really, it was quite an experience because, I got enthralled into the Black Swarm and I was just completely out of place. But as soon as they came out on stage, they started with Behind the Wheel. This is a
I love that
music.
you still remember the first song that was
Yeah.
on the set list that night. That's so
Well, it's iconic because it was the Music for the Masses tour. So it was documented in 101. Houston is actually in the movie 101, and I was there. It's
wow.
crazy. Yeah. And so, yeah. So when Behind the Wheel started, you see their silhouettes, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. And as soon as that curtain dropped, it was like pandemonium. People were just screaming, and I was like, what? And that was that truly was the moment that
That's awesome.
got me. And after that, I think I became part of the Black Swarm too, because I never wore all
It
pink
hit you in the
again.
heart. It had touched you.
It really did. It was an emotional, like, eye-opening experience.
I got a Depeche Mode one like that too. I think they've done that for a lot of people. But
Yeah,
so you have this moment. You were touched by the darkness and became part of the army.
that's right.
How did that move into, tell me a little bit about actually playing and deciding to get up on stage yourself now?
So I never really thought about creating my own band. I just knew that I wanted to play music, and I started learning keys and things. And I actually started multi-tracking myself, like recording myself and then playing over it and recording that. So I was kind of already kind of getting into the like synthy stuff. And then it wasn't until later that I learned drums. So I was, and also my dad was musical, so he taught me how to play keys and stuff. So I already kind of had that foundation. And then when I moved to Austin, it was kind of a discovery moment for me in life, and so I decided to seek out playing in bands.
Sure.
And one of the things
Austin's a
that,
great town for it. Huge
yeah,
history in the music scene.
oh yes, uh, but there at the time it was really hard to find someone to connect to. I think it's generally hard to find someone to connect to, especially in our genre. I mean, I don't know, maybe it might be different in other cities, but in Austin, it wasn't that
No,
many.
I know what you mean. I mean, I think it's hard for anybody. I mean, people don't understand how difficult it is, not just to find people who can play, but
Yeah,
to find personalities that you can interact with and kind of almost like a relationship. It's all about timing too, because you could have two people that both wanted to play the same kind of genre or something that you can get along with. But if you're not in the same place in your progression, it's going to turn into tension eventually. We're like, if one person is at, I'm trying to be really professional about this, and the other one is at a, oh, this is, a fun thing I do on the weekends type thing. Finding like two or three people or four people,
yeah,
forbid, that are at the same place, same skill level, same time, and you don't want to choke the shit out of them.
right.
That's a lot of variables.
Yes, that's a great requirement though for being in a band. I must not want to choke you.
Yeah, or at
But
least most of the time.
yeah, at least most of the time. Yeah. So I did a little bit of searching. And very few people know this about me, but when I first started playing, I didn't actually play any shows in Austin, but I was actually kind of a part of this. Well, the lead singer liked to call us metal,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm not necessarily a metal person. At
Me
the
either, but
time,
now I'm going to go looking for your
no.
old
Oh no,
school
no, no.
period metal.
Oh no, oh no, no, no. I don't think anything of it exists out in the real world, but that's another story. Um,
As a fake journalist, you'd be surprised what I can find.
yeah, I mean, you probably could find some stuff, but it was all right. But that's kind of where I landed because it was hard to find people that liked Depeche Mode and had the same kind of things. And I also was a big Dave Grohl fan as a drummer,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I loved the Foo Fighters at the time. When I moved to Austin, I was just cracking out on all their stuff. I loved it. And so playing in a rock band or playing in like a metal or a punk band wasn't too far removed from some stuff that I like. But ultimately, I just kind of wanted something a little more familiar. So
Yeah.
I kind of parted ways with that scene, and then met a guy in Austin named Alex Vallejo, which he's in a band called Vallejo, and they've done a lot of stuff
Mhm.
around town in Austin. And he had a band called Dead Love Club, and
Cool band
they
name.
were looking for a drummer. And when I went to listen to their music, um, they were very Thrill Kill cult-y. So it
Yeah.
was like campy, kind of like they dressed in like leather bondagey kind of, stuff. And it was just very styly and but funny too. Like it had some humor to it. It was sexy. And I really loved it.
Yeah.
And we actually opened for Thrill Kill Cult a few times in Texas.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it was really fun. And I was like, oh man, yeah, this is more where I want to be.
Right.
But that changed for me when the lead singer kind of wanted to go in a different direction and do a little bit more like 80s cover or like new wave
Sure.
cover stuff. And we added some into our show, but ultimately it was kind of like, well, I'm not quite following that same path, so we just parted ways.
Yeah.
And they're still out there. They're kicking ass. Like they're doing great in
Just
Austin.
like you said, though, I mean, or like we talked about the timing thing of it. You know what I mean? Like you
Exactly.
can like somebody, you can like the music they play, but if they're not going the road that you're trying to go, then it you
Yeah.
can still, enjoy somebody's music without wanting to be a part of it.
Right. But I loved being in Dead Love Club. It was fun. I was in a couple of music videos. If you look up Dead Love Club on the YouTube, you might find a
Oh, I'm
lot of
going
their
to.
you might find a lot of their like cover stuff. But there's a video called "Looking for Some Action," and
Nice.
we did a cover of "Something Going On" by Frida.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yep.
know there's something going on. So I'm playing drums in that video with a bunny mask on.
Nice.
So, I had a ton of fun. It was really great, but I was just looking for different opportunities
Yeah.
and I wanted to really connect to the electronic side because I mean, I do like I love my drums, I've
Sure.
family, Gritch family forever, but I really wanted to get back to electronics, and one of my huge influences is Curve, the band Curve from the 90s.
Yeah.
And Tony Holliday's always been like, oh, love her so much. Um, and I thought,
We
God,
saw
it'd be
them
great to have
play
a,
Rachel and I, because Rachel's a huge Curve fan.
yeah.
And we
You
saw
saw
them
them?
play, yeah, at the Vic in Chicago.
How
It was a few
lucky.
years back, but not that many. I think like 5 or 6 or something, but incredible. Great freaking.
Oh, that's so cool. I
Yeah.
I didn't get to see them, and I was kind of like late, I guess. I think by the time I was a fan, they had already stopped doing stuff. But
Sure.
um, quick funny story about that is I actually found Curve because I went into I think it was like a sound exchange or something in Houston,
Mhm.
and I was like, I'm just gonna buy something just without knowing anything about it.
Just by the cover or whatever. I've
Yeah,
been there. Yeah.
I'm just gonna do it for fun. And
Yeah.
so I saw Curve's doppelganger, and it's got all those babies,
Yeah.
dolls all over it.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna buy this because it looks interesting. And it's to this day one of my favorite albums in the world. I love it. I was just like, you talk about, the kind of the music finding you, or how did you
Yeah.
find each other? It found me. And that's how I became a Curve fan. And from that, I created SINE. So that's kind of my full circle with,
I love that. What a great story. Like,
yeah, I
I
mean,
think
it's,
mine for that would be Candy Apple Gray, Husker Du, where like I knew nothing. I just went into the record store and just grabbed it and threw it on. I was like,
wow. Yes. Yeah. You had that exact feeling. I mean, even if I listen to Doppelganger now, I'm like, oh, it's still so great, and I love it. And funny story. Dean is out there
he
from
is out
Curve.
there.
Yeah, so he's out there. He's done some stuff. He worked with Preston Maddox from Bloody Knives and did
Mhm.
this STFU stuff, and that was really cool. And when I saw that he was out there, I had actually contacted him because he was like, "Oh, does anyone want bass? I can play some
Yeah.
bass or whatever." And this was early SINE. And when I say that, I'm like, yeah, I probably should have waited to send him anything because,
Until I had everything all figured. But you know
mm,
what? Strike while the iron is hot. You get a chance to have Dean Garcia on your record. You do it. You don't think about that. You just do.
yeah. Yeah. So, but I did send him a couple of things, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not sure I relate to this," and I'm like, "Okay, that's cool." But in hindsight, I'm just like, "Oh, should have waited a little while, develop some
You
skills."
you might be able to come curve back around now and
See.
just act like it's fresh, like you're just like it never happened before, and you're just like, hey, so I just thought maybe you might be interested in throwing down a bass line on that. I think you could pull it off again with a straight face.
Yeah, with a straight face. You never know. I
I might know somebody because like my big thing is to be the goth yenta. That's like my
oh
goal
yeah.
in life. And so I might know somebody pretty tight to Dean Garcia. I might be able to, let me see what I can do. I might be able to.
Okay. Yeah. Tell him I'm not as dorky as I was before. So I got a little cooler.
I
Yeah.
really can't picture a world in which you weren't cool. I mean, I get it. We all feel that, but you are one of those people, and there's a few like that I see, that I hear your music and I see your stage performance, and I just think that person is definitely too cool to hang out with me. And like
Oh
I
no.
know I've talked to you since, and like you are just wonderful and
Oh,
open and
thank
welcoming.
you.
But like it would have been very easy for me to believe before I talked to you or met you that you just were way too freaking cool for this, because you just have that vibe.
Oh,
You got that energy of like, because it's effortless. True coolness, that's the whole point, is you're not trying to do a thing. You're just like, hey, yeah.
yeah. I really appreciate you saying that. That really means a lot to me because when obviously when you see yourself, you're like, who's that
Sure.
creep? you know, and everyone sees you different, and I get that, you know. So,
Yeah, no,
but
I always right away got this vibe from you that you just were like cool as the other side of the pillow 24/7. Yeah.
oh, thanks. You know, I will say that, um, you know, I used to put a lot of pressure on myself about
Sure.
doing great things or keeping up with everyone, but you know, I just felt like it wasn't very productive and just didn't serve me well. So
No.
I currently have the method of I just do what I do, I put it out. I think that sometimes people don't quite know what to do with my music because of that, because I'm not quite following any kind of formula. I really just go on feel or inspiration, and all my songs are just a little bit different, you know, that there's not a lot of, I've been compared to all kinds of different people. It's just really
Yes.
interesting to hear.
I
Um,
I think that's one of the things I love a lot. And I do want to like shift gears again and turn towards that.
yeah,
We've talked about the other people a little. We've talked about the past. Um, I think one of the things that to me drew me to SINE in your music is just that. It's a true amalgamation. Like it pulls from a lot of elements that I can hear, but also once it goes through the blender, I I really don't have an as a music reviewer, I don't have an easy box to put that in. It always
yeah,
has such a fresh sound, and I think the best way I can describe it is you never really seem to follow, although it's music that has a pop sensibility in some ways, it doesn't follow the verse chorus bridge chorus out or something. You really are one of those that I feel almost like a scroll unrolling. Like all of your songs tend to have this kind of the verse, the chorus, all of it is just one continuous stream with not set segments or breaks behind it. And so, whether it's an upbeat, dancey song, which is some of what you do, or what I call a David Lynch backroom Twin Peaks song, which is another kind of like style that I feel from you or you do. That's the unifier that ties it together is the way that it doesn't feel broken down. And I think maybe part of that might owe to the fact that you come from a drummer mentality. I think a lot of the people that are able to pull that off with a seamless transition of one concept had to be drummers first, because that's how you have something that happens that smooth. So when you started this project and started doing it, what was the thing to you from loving Depeche Mode or electronic elements that you wanted to make for yourself and be different?
well, a lot. You've got it right that a lot of the things that I write aren't necessarily in the formula, you know, in the A B or
Right.
BBA or whatever formulas that a lot of pop songs will follow.
Right.
And you know, I don't quite know exactly why I write that way, but I don't know if it's kind of like, you know, and I'm not trying to be, you know, people always talk about ADD and all this stuff, but I truly feel that my brain, it it's a multitasker whether I want it to be or not.
Sure. I was one
I
of the
mean,
original Ritalin test kids in 1984,
oh
so
really?
yeah.
Yeah, I have never been truly like diagnosed or anything, but there are definitely times where I'm just like, man, my brain it jumps around a lot.
Yeah.
And so when I'm creating, it almost happens that way too. And that's why I think that's why beats work really well with me. And I like that because it's kind of like there's so many different elements that I can change to create a feel. And that's really how I start writing is I look for a beat or feel. Again, I like bass, you know, I think I'm just kind of rhythm section driven, I suppose.
Sure. Which makes
And
sense.
yeah, and I just like feeling like good grooves and vibes and stuff. And as far as like lyrical content, sometimes it's secondary. You know, it's like the music is really what's driving me, but then the words just kind of come along. And I pretty much just sing and I create lyrics upon how I feel on those pieces of music. And then that's where the producer always comes in great handy for me because that person can go, all right, that's a little nutty.
We're a
We
little all
need
over
to
the
chop
place
it up
here.
a little
How do we
bit.
fit this in the, yeah.
How do we fit this in? Or they're like, which one's the chorus? Or would you consider the chorus? I'm like, I don't know. Which one should be, you know? So I have so many different ways that I write. I don't have one way, but really it's
I
all
love
about
hearing you say
feel.
that, and love hearing you say too that the music is your primary focus, and from that, then you figure out where the lyrics are going. Because I
Yes.
don't think that always happens, or that's how people write songs. I do that a lot too. And I love hearing you say that because it makes perfect sense that you have to have the music for you to be inspired by what the lyrics are, you know?
Right.
And I think that goes along with kind of the way you're describing your whole process.
Yeah, and as far as like lyrical content, I think a lot of my songs, I'm the kind of, I think this is where my, like, I really love Queens of the Stone Age.
Sure.
Love Queens
Sure.
of the Stone Age. They're one of my favorite bands. And I've always liked, and I also really like Morrissey. So this is where my kind of lyrical, yes, lyrical stuff comes in. But I really liked how, like, Queens of the Stone Age and Morrissey, they kind of have these lyrics that are like kind of sarcastic. They're funny. They're a little true,
Sure.
they're a little poking at everyone, you know, and I think that I write lyrics kind of in that same realm. And I have a few notebooks that I'll write thoughts on and just
Yeah.
words or maybe wordplay that just kind of comes to me. And that's really where I draw from. It's not that often that I think to myself, I'm going to write a song about this one topic.
Right.
It never happens that way. It's pretty much just like whatever fits, and I'll have random phrases and things that I write down, and I just kind of pick and choose whatever one kind of fits the music. So that's really how my process goes as far as like getting words down. But in my songs, if you look at the lyrics, it's like I'm trying to tell people something or inform them, or it's I like to say that it's kind of like um, it's fictional, but it's real, if that makes sense. It's
That
it's
makes perfect
it's
sense.
all from my observations because I'm a people observer,
Sure.
and sometimes it might seem like I'm more of an introvert, which I think I kind of am, but I think I observe people and I just see how they react to certain things, and I think that's a lot of what my music is driven by, is just the observations I've made in my life with
Yeah.
other humans. And
That makes
you know
perfect sense.
yeah,
Like,
and some of my songs I'm like, well, if you identify with what I'm saying, then maybe you want to look at yourself a little bit.
right, right. I do. I think a lot of
Say.
like songwriting can be, I don't know, almost like a short story or a novel like that. I do that a lot too. Where a lot of people will say to me, I mean, Amaranth lyrics sometimes are very funny, but
Yeah.
also pretty dark in a lot of them.
Yes.
And people that know me are like, Ken, you are literally the silliest, most happy-go-lucky person I know.
Yes.
Where that was a dark thing. Where did that come from? And I say, look, I don't really write songs necessarily about what my life is.
Hmm.
I think about, here's a person or a story I'm trying to tell, and I method actor, put myself in the
Right.
mindset of that person and then tell their story from their point of view. And so, like you said, that can be very, very real without just me recounting a thing that happened to me, you know?
Yes, exactly. And one thing that I really like Martin Gore, someone asked him what his lyrics meant, and he goes, "Well, what do they mean to you?"
Right.
And I thought, well, yeah, it's really that, because a lot of the songs that I write, again, are just like observations of human behavior and things, or um, and really sometimes it's sad, sometimes it's a little more aggressive. Like I have a song called Attack that's a little more aggressive, and then also the new song that I did with Mark Pistol from Consolidated is
Yeah.
called Blurred. I
That's,
mean,
I can't wait to talk about that. That's so awesome. We're going to talk about that. But
yeah.
anyway, carry
Well,
on.
that song, I mean, the very first thing I say is "shut your mouth or they'll shut it for you." That's the first lyric. And I think I don't know, but it's a
It is, that's a
reflection.
powerful hit right out the
It's
bat.
a reflection of what's happening to us, you know? I mean, Ken, I mean, we're all part of social media, shut your mouth or they'll shut it for you. And so I like writing about those observations of human life. And it's a funny thing, when you bust out with that first line in the song, people are like, oh my. you
I
know?
see, but
So
I think that's great. And I love that is another thing I would say on it when you said, kind of lyrics come afterwards, the music. But I think you do have a real capacity. Like when I think of what I really like about, say, Curse and his lyrics, they have this old school, like William Burroughs,
yeah.
like dusty library candles
Yes.
intensity. For you, I do like the music has this Twin Peaks slow creeping electronic dance beat, but it
Mhm.
has a Riot Girl 90s like punch you in the mouth intensity to the
Yeah.
lyrics, I think, and you deliver them
Thank you.
beautifully and slowly. But when I hear it, it definitely does kind of, yeah, have this like Bikini Kill edge to the words that you're saying, and it creates this wonderful like imagery that you just don't hear this thing placed with that thing much. And I think to
Right.
me that's the real power in what you're able to achieve when you're doing SINE songs.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that very scenario that you're talking about, I feel is kind of portrayed in the song I have called "Je suis," which means "I am" in French.
Mhm.
And it the French. I love the French language. It just always sounds so beautiful, and it doesn't matter what they say. You're like, "Ooh, oui, oui," it all sounds good. But I always thought like "Je suis" sounds so nice and beautiful, and then I paired it up with empty, complicated, you know all
Right.
these all these undesirable traits. So, and that one, it kind of seems to go nowhere, but really for me it was kind of like this really low sexy jam where you're just kind of getting into it, and then je suis empty and a little complicated, so it's kind of like showing that this beautiful thing on the inside can be all those undesirable things underneath, so that was kind of like a little my funny little way of playing on that.
Tongue-in-cheek joke of, yeah, doing,
Yes.
yeah,
I mean, it's this I mean, it's the same where my song Control, you
yes,
know.
that's one of my
Control
favorites.
I Oh yes, and I wrote the middle part very sweetly, like it's only you I've ever wanted, to keep me close and never let me go, right? It's only you I've ever wanted to control, It's like that end payoff where
I
it's
mean,
like,
but
oh
you do
shit.
talk about, I don't know the impact there, and like what does this mean to you? You're the one
Yeah.
listening to it. To me, I always just pictured that moment for like every fuck boy like listening to this shit when all of a sudden it hit and they're like, oh wait, am I a dick?
I
Oh,
know it's only you I've ever wanted to control. And then my mission, your demolition. I mean, come on. To me, it's funny
I love it.
because I think at some points we've all been in that situation where we're just like, just sneering at somebody across the room, like, oof, you know? But again, that's what I like writing about. It's like the ironic sillinesses of life, put to dance music with some darkness, and a little scariness to add to it. So I I
I
like kind of staying in that realm.
To me, if you're doing any kind of goth music, and I say this a lot, with a frilly cravat and like, a pompadour hair done out and in the makeup and the whole bit, and you're taking yourself too seriously, like you have missed a lot of the fun of what this is about. Like
I mean,
you
come on, yeah.
gotta be able to laugh at yourself if you're doing this. Like it can be serious too, and you can still laugh at yourself, but you
Yeah.
have to be able to laugh at the absurdity and darkness of life to me if you want to make
Exactly.
it out alive in 2022.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Blasphemous Rumors by Depeche Mode. I don't want
Yes.
to start any blasphemous. I think the God's got a sixth sense of humor, and when I die, I expect to find him laughing. I mean, come on. See, that's the kind of stuff that I like writing. I think, yes, it's perfect. It's more of like, um, you got a little bit of a payoff on your lyrics. It's not just, a profession of love or anger or anything, but it's more of like, I like those ironic twists.
Right.
I find it to be humorous and I find it to be thought provoking. You know,
And to
it
me,
just does.
great bands like Depeche Mode, that's the whole point, is just like us as humans, we are not just one thing. We are not funny goth. We are not ultra dark Sisters of Mercy goth or
Yeah.
Swan. Look, to be a good band, you have a range of that
Oh
in what you're
yeah.
expressing. And sometimes you're dead serious.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's poking fun, and you can be
Exactly.
both things at the same time.
Yes, I agree, and I find myself to be I love comedy. I'm actually a pretty happy person, and I like funny things.
What's
Doesn't always
something
have to be
What's
murder and
something funny
ghosts,
you've seen lately? Whether it was a
Huh?
show or a movie or something like
That was
that, or
funny.
yeah, what was something that you could, because everybody has different styles to their comedy.
Mm.
What is something that you think of as, okay, that genuinely, that's my style or what makes me laugh? Some people are Monty Python people, some people are, kids in the hall. I don't know, who knows? What is kind of something that it was your style you've thought of as funny lately?
Well, okay, so I guess I'll give you a retro and a lately, but
Sure.
for my retro, I will have to admit that I am an addict of Three's Company. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's because I watched it as a child that it's
Sure.
ingrained. I can watch Three's Company from day to night, sitting on the couch just over and over again.
I
And
grew up too as a little kid, yeah, and I haven't seen it in a long time. That would be one. I'm not sure how
you,
it
if you
hold
have,
up.
if you have Pluto TV, it's on the
I
Roku
do
and
have.
it's free. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have a Three's Company channel.
Wow. Okay,
It
well,
runs
I'll check that
24
out. My
hours.
one like that I always go is, I don't care what time, what play, anytime I can put on MASH and I'll still find that funny. And I watched that when I was like a child with my father, like 7, 8, but it still holds up and it still is just as humanly true and funny.
Yeah, yeah. I find that too with like when I'm watching Three's Company, like the humor is really funny and it almost like now that I'm an adult and I see what's happening in our world now, I'm just kind of like, wow, they actually were kind of progressive, because they were making Jack Tripper, John Ritter
Right.
be the subject of the sexual like
Jokes on the,
harassment
yeah,
by
and
the
I mean, they had that
wives,
really creepy guy, Larry, that was like his best
Yeah.
friend, but like that guy was just so, like, I have a feeling if I watched it now, I would cringe audibly
Yeah.
anytime Larry came on the screen,
But
So,
it's actually pretty funny, but and then of course with the landlords having to think that Jack is
yes,
gay,
yes,
so they kind of like touch on that kind of thing. But when I look back on it, I don't get all offended.
yeah.
They actually do it very light, honestly, and I think it's funny. But
I
as
think
far
there's a
as
lot of those old shows that really
yeah,
were,
I
we
love
can
Lucy.
appreciate they were progressive in their time, even if we
Oh,
can look back and pick apart things now that, okay, that wasn't cool. I didn't feel great about that.
yeah.
Time appreciate that you're right. They were trying to, for the 70s, push the conversation forward on, what should be acceptable in society.
Yeah, yeah. So that's definitely one that I'm totally addicted to. As far as recently, okay. So I feel like comedy kind of been suffering
It
lately.
has. It's tough.
Because you know, I don't know, it has to be clever, really clever for
Right.
me to laugh at it, and of course, everyone laughs at like farts and stuff and sex
Hey,
jokes
farts are
and
funny,
whatever.
whatever. Okay, but
Yes, farts are funny, but I like clever humor and I
yeah,
like clever comedians. I really do like watching stand up, and I haven't seen any ones that I would say are like great,
great
great.
lately. Sure.
But I have been watching a few clips from Jim Gaffigan, which I like
Yeah,
him. I
he's
think
very
he's
funny. I've
generally
seen him live.
funny. Oh, you have? Oh, I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
seen him.
Very funny live. Yeah.
Yes, I haven't seen him, but I have watched some clips of him. I do like What We Do in the Shadows, but sometimes it
That's
gets a little ridiculous, and I'm like, okay, it's not
see, I
funny.
do
It's like,
like
like they're
absurd
reaching too
humor.
hard sometimes.
But yeah, I think that's one of the most brilliant comedic things that's been on both the movie and the TV show in a
Yes.
long time. That one's really, really good. What else do I
Yes.
like? Broad City. That's I think
I
genuinely funny. I laugh a lot at that. That's really good.
Oh yeah, and I also was a Arrested Development fan.
Very fun, at least for the first
I
three seasons, for sure.
yes, yes, I really thought yeah. Towards
Yep.
the end, it was kind of like,
Yeah.
but the beginning stuff's really funny. We haven't finished it yet, but we just started watching the Weird Al movie,
I haven't seen that yet
and
either. I look forward to it though.
oh, it's actually it's not what you expect. So, but we haven't finished it yet. We actually probably going to finish it today, but we started watching that and it was pretty humorous. But yeah, I don't know as far as like new.
I think those are
Uh,
good ones. I think you
the-
list a lot of good ones there, and it does. It gives me a picture idea. Like for me, if you were to ask me, Ken, what is your humor? I would say Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is like the highest peak of humor. Like to me, that
yeah,
is as funny as anything has ever been.
yeah,
So that's, if you wanted to look at my style, that would be my. So
yeah.
I get a picture of what yours is now, especially on the Three's Company thing. And you've inspired me. I'm going to go watch Three's Company. I did that a while back with the Golden
Yes.
Girls, and I did not regret.
Oh, I
I
like the
did not.
Golden Girls too. I thought they were funny. Like
I
when I was
always
a
think
kid, I
it's
watched them.
so hilarious that that show was supposed to be about women in their like mid 40s. And we all make it out to be now like they were like 80 or something.
I
And
know.
the premise was supposed to be about women in their 40, 5 years younger than me right now. We're
You're like,
supposed to be
what?
like the Golden Girls.
Oh my gosh. See, and I didn't even know that. I didn't know what their ages were. I just knew they were old
I mean, they
ladies.
never said it officially, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
what they were aiming for, was like 40 to 50
Oh
was
my gosh, that's
my
funny.
age now, was their golden years.
Ah, yeah, that's really funny. But I definitely watched them too when I was a kid. But yeah, I mean, now I haven't sought anything out. But one thing I will say that Kirsten and I actually like doing whenever we're on tour and we're stuck in hotel rooms is we watch Ridiculousness on MTV.
Yeah,
Because I mean it's just funny little quips,
right.
and so that's been one of our habits. And every now and then we'll go to MTV, and of course it'll be on. It's like the nonstop ridiculousness, you know, channel, along with like 16 and Pregnant or something like
I was
that.
going to say, well, it's not like you can see music on there anymore.
Oh,
It's
I know. Oh no.
reruns of Road Rules or something.
Yeah.
So let's use that though. You guys are just on tour. We're going to turn back around. We're terrible, Rona. We're just saying we're all over the. We're two
Oh, I
eight
like it.
people.
It's
But
totally fine.
tell me about what you have coming up so that people can be excited to you have some live stuff that's coming up here for the future. That's a big deal. And you have
I do.
well,
I'm like, what have you heard?
well,
Just
I
kidding.
know you guys had to postpone
Oh,
um
yes,
on
yes,
something,
yes.
but I assume that that's gonna be coming back around.
Yes, yes, that's right. So Clan of Zymox couldn't make it into the U.S., and as we've known, a lot of
Bands
bands,
are struggling with that right now.
foreign bands, have had troubles, which is just it's dumb. But yeah, so that November Clan of Zymox tour with Curse has been postponed to the end of May and the beginnings of June. So
That's
it's going to
still
happen.
exciting and
Yeah.
still going to happen. And I mean, for you, that's just got to be a wonderful, fun opportunity to go
Yeah.
be a part of with a
Well,
band like that.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
fun to tour with. I mean, those guys are awesome. We consider them like family, and it's just they're all great guys and super easy road mates. So And then
And you don't always get that, kind of like we talked
yeah.
about earlier, being in a band, finding a band that you can tour with is also gold, because that's a lot of personalities crammed into a very small space. And you
Oh
better
yeah.
be really cool about some stuff really fast.
Oh yeah, agreed. Yes. Uh, but and we'll see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be great though, because it's going to be Curse and I and Zymox and a cloud of ravens. So
Who I
small.
also love and I'm so
Yeah,
excited for.
it's going to be great.
Just I don't know, like that's really cool too. And I'm excited for them to have that opportunity to
Yeah.
go hang out with y'all.
Oh yeah, it's going to be awesome. We're going to be smashed into a what do you call it? One of those sprinters or some sort
Oh
of black vehicle with lots
yeah.
of seats.
So then, aside from doing live stuff, tell me a little bit. You have 3 recent releases that have all come out. Tell me a little bit about those and where people can find them. I know you had the Until with Wands Dover D and the B remix.
Yes.
You had one out in October that was we were just talking about Clan of Zymox remix. And
Yes.
then you have a release coming up here for this month in November. Hit me quickly with kind of some of these. What was fun and interesting to work on about all of them, and why you're excited and other people should be.
Okay. Well, so this latest, maybe I should go back one.
Yeah,
What was
start
really
back
fun?
in September. We'll go back to the Until, and then we'll
Yeah.
work our way up.
Yeah. So what was happening is originally I had a full-length album called Mantis that I was going to
Mhm.
put out, and then I got signed with a label called Emergency Hearts, and they're out of Austin, Texas.
Yes.
And Scott Crow's the owner, and he's a singer in a band called Lesson Seven.
Mhm.
They're from Dallas. They did some stuff back in the day, and they toured with Nine Inch Nails, and so he's got some
That
great.
is some stuff.
Yeah. I mean, back in the early days, so he's got some great experience and lots of awesome connects. So um, he took me on and decided that he wanted to kind of break up this Mantis series, and that's pretty much how it went. Was that we put out Mantis 1 and started doing remixes like the song Attack. We got that remixed by Adrian Sherwood, which is like, I mean, as a Depeche Mode fan, having an Adrian Sherwood remix, someone who remixed Depeche Mode, and so, I mean, worked with everybody, that I ever wanted to work with. I was like, oh, wow. So that was the very first collaboration that I ended up doing. Oh, no, sorry. The first one was with Meat Beat Manifesto.
I mean,
So,
that's really cool too.
yes, that was really great. And so at the time, I was actually coming off of my last kind of phase of music to where I made a song with Chris Connolly called Desolate District.
I love
And
that.
thank you. Yes. And that all came about because of, was it in 2019? I mean, 2019 seems so far away, but like everything happened then, you know? Yes, Pig
It does
Face
feel
was,
like the last like 3 or 4 years has been a decade. It's true.
it's been strange. So back when he was touring with Pigface, he had said that he heard my music and liked it, and so we did a collab there. And so we did a remix of that song with Meat Beat Manifesto. It was kind of like the bridge from that side to Emergency Hearts. So, and then the next one was the Adrian Sherwood, and then we kind of moved along from there. And in between, put out the Mantis 1 and 2, which have all new songs. But the latest, um, well, like I said, I want to go back. I wish I would have brought my other CD, but I have a
That's
CD
okay.
called I have a CD called Desire, Denial, and Paramania,
Hmm.
and that's kind of like my catching up with Depeche Mode. So what I did was I kind of took all my favorite songs from the first album and kind of like the Desolate District single that I did, because that's not on any
Yeah,
album. It's just like a single, and kind of did a compilation there. And I think I did put the Meat Beat Manifesto
you did.
remix on
You
that
have
one as
that, and
well.
you have a Night remix and the
Yes,
Death March remix that came out
yes,
October 7th, 2021.
that's right. And so that
I
was
got
kind
your
of
back.
like Yeah, thank you. I know everything's like blurs together at a point, but that was kind of like my very first kind of bridge to this next Mantis series. And after we release the EPs, we have a third Mantis coming out. But that's not going to happen until next year,
Oh
and
wow.
that's going to be like all the remixes. I mean, though even ones we haven't put out yet, I feel like we've got like 15 of them. It's insane because
I
so
know
many
how that
people
goes.
participated. So, but there are some of them, and here's this. This is the Mantis complete
Oh yeah, very. I love that with
CD.
like a anglerfish type.
That's right. Yeah, and then of course, behind
Aren't they
that,
the
my
aren't the
screen.
angler that's very cool. Aren't the anglerfishes the ones that how they the male just attaches itself to the female
Oh,
and like once it impregnates her, I believe he just kind of shrivels up and like ceases to and kind of just becomes like a little lump on the end of her because
oh,
that was all he was good for, and then he's out, and then the lady just goes on to have her babies and live her best life. And I'm
oh
just saying it's
my.
not the worst role model I've heard of as
Well, it is called Mantis series, and I'm like, I really don't like, eat the heads and Anyway, that's so graphic enough.
again I've heard worse ideas. So
Silliness.
then you had another remix that was out recently for what we just talked about with Clan of
Yeah,
Zymox.
that's
What
right.
was that like to do, working with Ron and
With
just that
Ronnie.
whole crew? And what was that like as an experience? Since I'm not having it anytime soon, I would like to live vicariously through you.
Oh, well, so the first, well, actually, but when the pandemic hit and everything got shut down, we were actually on Clan of Zymox tour,
Mm-hmm.
Curse, and it was, Ronnie had known that had some music out and heard some stuff and liked it, and after that tour got canceled, we all got sent home, and it was kind of like, and
What are we gonna do now?
Ronnie started making a bunch of music, and I was like, hey, if you ever want to remix, I'm down. And he said, sure. So I remixed a song of theirs called Lockdown. It was very timely. So
Right.
he made it, I think it was during 2020. Yeah. So I did a remix for Clan of Zymox, and that was very successful. It was really got, I mean, it's got a lot of good stream numbers and things.
Yeah.
And then just as I was making this Mantis series, we were reaching out to all these different people for remixes. And I told Scott, I was like, oh, I need to reach out to Ronnie because, I mean,
Turnabout's good play.
yeah. I mean, but also I really like Clan of Zymox, and
Right.
I just really respect him, and we've all become good friends after that whole tour and having to experience the shutdown and all that stuff. So I just messaged him and asked him if he wanted to do a remix. Oh, well, before that, I actually had sent him the whole Mantis
Mhm.
CD itself, well, like digitally, and I let him listen to it, and he really liked it. And he's like, "This is really, really good." And so that was kind of my open door to go, well, since you like it so much,
You don't say.
you don't say. How about you take one of these little ditties and do something with them? So yeah, I mean, it was like
Did
yes
he
right
say
away. And
anything to you about, so Until is the song that he
yeah.
chose? Did he say anything about why that one, kind of spoke to him or
I'm not actually sure that he said anything. I think I gave him a couple of things to choose from, and I think that's just what one of the ones he decided to go for.
I thought you were going to say you just forgot because I was going to be like, dude, if Ryan went like I would have recorded that shit and then once in a while just played it back to me. Like I had a bad
Yeah.
day, I got a flat tire, I'm on the side of the road, and I just take out this mini tape recorder and like hit play and listen to Ronnie tell me why one of my songs was good. Like
Yeah.
that. That sounds like something I would do.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go. You want those reminders. But believe me, I look back on some of the things people write me and I'm like, "Oh, that's so nice." So I was just honored to have him do that, and it's a brand new release. It's up right now, and it's kicking ass. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be honest and say, it has boosted my Spotify numbers. It's like beyond what I ever thought I could get to. So and I wrote him, I wrote him the other day, and I sent him a screenshot of it, and I said, your remix is kicking ass, So that was nice to share with him. But yeah, I love remixes though. They're kind of
Yeah.
fun to see how other people reimagine your tunes.
It is. It's both fun, but also scary. Like it is,
Yeah,
like you're taking your baby
yeah.
and you are handing that baby over to someone, not knowing what condition you will be receiving your baby back in. That's a
Yeah.
brave thing. I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I figure
I mean, I think it's
that,
probably pretty safe in, say, like
yeah,
Ronnie's hands.
yeah,
But I mean, I've sent my baby to a lot of people I didn't know that well, or like know the breadth of their work that well, and just
yeah. And sometimes you do it and you get pleasantly surprised and you're like, whoa, this is
truth.
really awesome. I mean, I really, I mean, um, there's several of them. I wish I had a notepad that had all of them on there, but there's several of them from lots of different people that haven't been put out yet.
Yeah.
And one,
I know ones you have coming up here, and I did want to have you
yeah,
talk about this in just 5 days. You have the full Mantis complete coming out, right? I mean, this is the big one. And
yes,
so you've got on that
yeah.
Adrian
They've
Sherwood,
got lots of
you've
remix.
got Klaus
Yes,
Leather Strip,
yes, so
Planazimon
good.
we just talked about, Songkreef,
Yes, with
Mark
Mark Stewart
Castell.
from the pop group.
Yeah.
Mark Stewart from the pop group.
And then Sour Gout, and
Yes,
then David
David
Williams.
Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and Mark Pistol too on virtual realities. But so Sour Gout is kind of a new artist,
Ooh.
really youthful. I want to say that weirdly, he's like 15, maybe. It's like one of those
Wow. That's like some
weird.
Camlin shit. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
and that came through Emergency Hearts. They're
That's
in
awesome.
contact with him, and Scott was like, "It's this kid. He's really awesome." Like I'm like, "Okay, I'm up for
Whenever I see
awesome."
one of those like Camlin, for example, I don't know if you know them. I'll send it to you. If you
Mm,
don't, you'll love it.
no.
They're this very cool band on Cold Transmission. I think they are just now 18, but they
Yeah.
put out like one of the coolest post-punk albums I've heard in a hot minute. And I think they were like 15. And Andy and Susie would tell me, like from the label, when they'd have to get their parents to the room during the video call because they were like 50 to talk business because like they had to have their parents there
Yeah,
while they were.
exactly.
And I remember just thinking, I'm like, these kids are 15 because I had a band when I was 15,
Mhm.
but holy shit, were we like 27 levels below where this is. It blows my mind somebody could be that good and 15.
Yeah. I mean, well, I love it when young people get into music. It's
Yeah.
awesome. So that one was kind of a little bit different for me, but
Yeah.
I I'm always open to working with different artists and just kind of seeing how things go.
Sure.
And like I said, I've have a lot of other remixes that we haven't put out that will come out on Mantis 3. Like I've got one from Justin Bennett, drummer for Thrill Kill Cult, drummer
Yeah.
for Skinny Puppy, and so he's done one which I really love. And I think he did one for Until. I'm not quite sure, but that one's coming out. I have a remix um, that I just got from my our friend Matt McJunkins, who he's a bass
Mhm.
player in Poppy, the band Pop, Poppy. He's
Yeah.
playing with Poppy right now.
Oh, I know Poppy.
Um, yeah, so he's playing with Poppy right now, and he's played with The Perfect Circle, and so and he's a bass player, so it kind of was like, you know, let's collab and check it out. So he did a remix for the song Blurred, and
Mhm.
it is really good, really good. So I'm gonna put that out. The Mark Stewart one is coming out, I think, I want to say on Monday. So on Spotify, the Mark Stewart remix for the Je Suis. Sanskrit is the guy who put it together, but it features Mark Stewart's vocals. That
Nice.
one's coming out. Yeah, and then I have, not related to me, on I think November 10th. I have a remix that I did for Eric Random and Stephen Mallender from Cabaret Voltaire. It's called Stop, Begin
What?
Again. Yeah.
What?
So I did a remix for them too. That's coming out on the 10th. It's called Stop, Begin Again. So yeah,
That's nice. I mean, when
it's
you get a
awesome.
chance to collaborate with Cabaret Voltaire,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, like somebody who I would say was up there with basically inventing industrial fucking music. I mean,
Yeah.
that's nice.
It was, again, like with Emergency Hearts, and Scott has just been really awesome. He's like, I just want to connect you with all these people, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, introduce me to all your friends.
I
Ah!
feel like this
So,
question is going to go a lot shorter. We're up to that point in the interview now where I
yes.
always like to ask, because we're a music review page, tell me about something that you're listening to or inspiring you. But I feel like you've done that through the whole interview, which is always nice, like lift it up. But do you have anybody that I should go check out and give some press to, that you think of, that you've either worked with or collaborated recently, or just that you've listened to and enjoyed?
Okay. So I'm kind of one of these oddball people who, um, I end up finding different bands and all these all over the world, and I'll just like a song or two of theirs, and I'll just find them in random like Spotify and stuff. And every now and then I will run into a band where I just want to hear everything that they do, and I will listen to nothing but them. Like I did that obviously with Depeche Mode, The Cure, and all my favorites. I did that with Curve. I did that with Deftones. Like, I'm a big Deftones fan. I love them. When I discovered them, actually, quick little story about how I discovered Deftones. I worked for Live Nation for a long time as their designer, and so I would always see concert stuff, and I would work with the art and everything. And I always saw Deftones stuff, but I kind of like passed them off as like some
New
metal
metal or
band. Yeah,
something?
like
Sure.
dude
Yeah.
metal band that I was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know, it doesn't seem that interesting. And then I heard their cover of Ghost by the band Japan.
Yeah.
And I love Japan. I love David Sylvian, like just all that stuff so ingrained in me. I love that. And so when I heard that cover, all of a sudden I was just like, oh, what? Deftones? Oh god, I gotta check this. I gotta check this shit out, because if they're doing a Japan cover,
There
something's
must
up.
be something here. I think it's
Yeah.
funny, from everything I've learned about you in this interview, you and my partner Rachel, I think, have the same musical taste. You guys are lined up very much.
Yeah. All
And
right.
I guess I'll always say, like, to me, if I was going to ask the SAT question, I would say, like, the Clash is to punk rock what Deftones are to new metal. Like, it's the same basic concept, just they did it so much better than anybody else ever did afterwards, that like
Yeah.
it's almost like its own thing in its own genre.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think they're really unique, and I also really love that. Of course, Curse is friends with Chino. I mean, Curse is friends with everybody, and if he isn't friends with
He's
that
a likable
person,
dude.
he's friends with someone who knows him. That's what I always say. I'm like, he's friends with everybody, and if he doesn't know him, he knows someone who knows him. So we actually got to visit with Chino
Mhm.
at a concert. I think it was oh yes, they came to Austin 360, and we went and saw him backstage and chatted a bit. And he had said, because I told him I was very inspired by Depeche Mode, and he said, "Oh, it was the Violator tour that got me. Like when I saw them at Violator, I was like, I want to do music." And so I said, "Oh, that's so awesome!" Like, I saw him with OMD, and he busted out some OMD in the dressing room. We were just kind of like reminiscing about that kind of stuff. But I was like, wow, this guy actually has all the same musical tastes that we do. Like, he likes all that. And then also the crosses stuff that he's doing with Sean Lopez, that definitely brought me in too. So it's like Chino he likes all the post punk and all the electronic music like we do. So I think that's why I feel like there's a connection to him as well. And that Deftones kind of lyrically, he's very much like The Cure, You know,
Yeah.
he's got some like Smith's influences and things like that. And you know, it just took me a while to see it
Yeah.
as
I mean, but
outward.
I would agree. I think a lot of this, I would even go so far as to say that to me, because I'd never even like tried Deftone until Rachel got me into them.
Oh,
And
mhm,
I think that, yeah, they were just very very progressive. And
mhm,
so, yeah, I think a lot of the things you're saying, the songwriting style, but more than that is kind of, I don't know whether you're talking Yaz or kind of King Crimson,
mhm,
like they lumped it in with new metal because when it came out, but in reality it was prog metal, and
mhm.
that's like old school prog metal, like Rush or
Yeah.
King Crimson or stuff. To me, that's what I heard in it, where I was like, holy shit, people don't even, they don't even make them like this anymore, you know? So
Yeah, yeah. So, but oh, I actually, if you don't mind,
you're
I
gonna
am
shout out a
gonna,
band, yeah.
yes, I was gonna shout out a couple because uh, back in the day when the pandemic was happening and no one was touring, I did that whole Villains Wear Black Presents like
Yeah,
TV show, and I did videos and stuff like that.
love that, want to see
And
it.
yeah, it was awesome. I have all the back, I guess,
Catalog of
the
them.
back catalog of it, and I'm not quite sure what to do with that. I thought about re-airing it for fun, but I would continue it. It's just a lot of work, as you know,
It
being a
is.
producer of a show, an hour show long every
Katie knows
week.
better than I do, I just have to sit there and talk, but yes.
Yes, Katie knows. Um, so I discovered a lot of people through that, and also Spotify. You know, as evil as sometimes people are making it out to be, it's like I have actually found some cool people there. But let's see. One song that I've actually been listening to that's been kind of interesting. It doesn't have any lyrics. It's called 90 95. It's written out, and it's by a band called Holy Fuck.
Holy fuck, all right, that
Holy
should be
fuck, it's called 95. And you know, funny enough, Ken, when I find these random songs that I like by these bands that I'm not quite sure who they are, sometimes I'll go to their profile and I'll check out their other songs,
Mhm.
and all their other songs are like different. I'll be like,
That's true.
how come
That
I only
is
like this
to
one
me,
song
that is
better?
one of the tough parts of Spotify, is that you will
Yes,
sometimes find a random song by a random band, and then you'll go look them up and you'll be like, oh, this really was just your one thing
that's
out
the
of
one thing.
nowhere that has nothing
Yeah,
to do with the rest of your catalog.
yes.
But
And
that's fun.
there's another song called Fusion by a band called Perfume. They're from Japan. It's like a
Ah, yes,
alternative
I do
Japanese
know
song.
perfume. Yeah.
So the song Fusion, I freaking love that song. And but like on this, I have a little playlist that I just keep all my favorites. And oh, one song that I really, oh, the video for you know, Mansfield TYA. Have you ever heard of them?
Mm-mm.
Dude, okay, so I I'm not sure exact. They might be from Germany, but they have a song called "Auf Wiedersehen," like "Auf Wiedersehen," right?
Yeah,
Like
it
goodbye.
sounds like Germany. I mean, it's saying goodbye.
Yes, and the band is called Mansfield TYA. And
Okay,
go look up that
I'll look
music
it up right
video
after.
because I actually, funny enough, I think it was maybe on YouTube. You know how things will just run on
Yeah.
YouTube if you put on a playlist or something. And that video came on, and I was just like, wow, that is a really great song.
Okay.
Uh, and another person that I discovered on Spotify is uh, he's I don't quite, he's like a modular guy.
Mhm.
He goes by Ludo Wick, so it's like LUDOWIC. It's all one
Okay.
word, Ludo Wick. So I thought he had some cool things, and he's got some modular, brainy kind of music stuff that I thought was neat. Um,
I do always love that too. A good
yes,
modular synth jam.
yes, I like that stuff too because it's
There's
just
To me
pleasant.
though, it's always one of those, it's so, the amount of skill level that it takes to not sound like a chaotic mess when you're doing like Magic, to me, it's way beyond me. And so I'm always impressed by it. Somebody who can really truly put together something that takes on cohesion on just
Yes.
like an old school modular. I'm like, and then to repeat that process, to do it live and have it end up
Mhm.
the same approximately,
You're
I'm
like,
like, that is a level of control and intuition that escapes me.
Yeah, me too. So when I find people who do that, I'm like, wow. But that Ludo Wick, there's a song called "Breath of a Serpent" that's really good. It's all instrumental stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that I tend to like have a lot of bass, like deep bass stuff. Like I like the song "Dust" by Black Asteroid. You know, we all
Yeah.
know Brian. Great. "Impossible" by Royksop features Alison Goldfrapp. That song's really awesome. There's another band called Stigma, and they have a cool song called Advertised and one called Listening Now. Gosh, I could read you all my like little Spotify things, but
We're going through your whole Spotify, but no,
no, but
I
that's
think
because like I can't name like one band that I'm into. Like no one's caught me yet
I feel
as
like
far as
right
like I gotta
now,
listen to all their stuff.
I am coming up on that time in the year that I always have to do where I put together the Sounds and Shadows, like, you know, top 20 or top 50, and often it gets to be like 100 playlist of my favorite releases of the year, and it's always like that. I start out being like, Ken, this is going to be the year, just make hard choices and get it down to 20, and then I'm like, and at 96 we have,
Yeah, exactly.
and this is the longest music review in the history of man. Ha
Yeah,
ha.
takes you a whole year to write it.
One of those.
But yeah, I like discovering new people. I like discovering people of foreign lands. Like I don't always go for U.S. artists, so it's kind of interesting. But you know, I'm also the kind of person who will, you know, bust out in Club Tropicana by Wham, you know, and
Yeah,
be
yeah.
happy listening to that too. Yeah.
So I'm going to give you one and ask if you've heard of them. So this is a artist from Australia, because you said, you like other play. Have
Yeah.
you heard of Desmond Doom?
Not sure. Let me see. I'm gonna look at
So
Desmond.
look up Desmond Doom, but it's kind of like Jesus and Mary Chain
Oh,
goth,
oh,
like surf shoegaze.
cool. Yeah,
It,
it says
it has
Desmond
like,
Dune sounds like Joy Division and the Smiths started a band in Eastern Europe.
I would say more like Joy Division and the Beach Boys started a band.
Oh, well, it
Like,
does have a surfboard in this photo, so
yeah, I think that could be your vibe, especially
okay.
like I said, if you're into the surfy Jesus and Mary Chain shoegaze type
Hmm.
stuff, that it has that vibe, but then with like a very deep baritone vocal.
All right.
So anyhow,
Yeah.
that's my tip for you. We
Okay, I will listen to that.
Yeah, we are up coming up here on time. And what I always like to do, you have so much fun stuff happening that we've talked about. I look forward to it. I will go see you in Curse when you're back out on tour. He still owes me coming back because it didn't end up working out. And I was so excited to come play with him for a show. So I'm going to have to latch on and find a show somewhere when you guys get back on the road in Chicago or Detroit or somewhere
Yes,
around me.
that would be awesome.
So that will be fun. But I like to spin out to a new track for you.
Yes.
And so you've got the album that's coming out, like I said, up here in 5 days. So we kind of could pick any, but what is the track if people are going to hear a SINE track for the first time off this new album? What is the track that you would like us to spin out to that you feel really encapsulates what you're trying to do?
Well, I'm
I
not
know you've
sure.
got 10 fingers and you wouldn't cut any of them off, but
Yeah.
you got to make hard choices here.
Yes. So, okay. Maybe you can help advise me here because
I could. You can't go wrong with that Ronnie Moore remix. That's just fire. That is straight fire,
yes.
and it has been doing well on the old Spotify's.
Yes, that has actually been a very good one. Great
But
contender.
I mean, you could also do something fresh that's just going to be out. And by the time we release this interview, it will be out, like the Je suis, the Mark Stewart one. That could be very cool.
You know,
Or
I say we the reason why I was thinking that is because one of the songs on the new album is a cover of the band The Glove,
yeah,
and that's this Sex Eye Makeup, which is like one of my favorite. Oh God, I love The Glove, and it was one of my favorite songs. In fact, I gotta play show and tell. Hold on one second.
okay, let's see what you bring. Ooh.
Yay! Look, I still left the label on it.
I
Isn't
always
that
do that
funny?
with record sleeves too.
Sound Exchange, $9.99. Look, and
That's an excellent value.
oh, and then, ta-da.
Ooh.
Yes, isn't that it? I mean, I don't think you can tell, but it's see-through.
Yeah, that's a royal translucent.
It's amazing. So this album was very special to me, and it has certainly influenced me in my music. And funny enough, Landry or Landray, however you would like to say their name, the one who sang the song originally, has my same birthday. Isn't that weird?
Oh, cool.
I found
Michael
out after
Jackson
I
is
made
my
it.
same birthday, but
Oh,
I
really?
mean, no, that's
It was just kind of like, oh, it was kind of odd because it's such an oddball, like,
yeah, connection to have there, but that's awesome.
yes. So anyway, but
I'm
we can
for it. If
certainly,
you want to do that one, we could do Sex Eye Makeup here that we spin out
yes.
to. The album is called Mantis Complete, and it's going to be out November 11th, 2022. So coming up here in just a few days. I'm just really excited for everything that you have going on here. And I also love to hear, in this day and age, it's a change for record labels. And like, I remember you talked to me about this when you were kind of deciding where to go with it. And I love hearing that you found somebody who appreciates your vision and is finding ways to be valuable to help you do it. Because that isn't always how it goes. But when you find that right situation, it is worth its weight in gold when you have somebody who believes in you and
Yeah.
genuinely tries to help you succeed.
And that was imperative. I mean, um, I had another offer before Emergency Hearts that I turned down. I don't know. It just wasn't. It didn't seem
Just like a lot of things, it's got to be the right
like
fit.
you
You
said
got
with
to be feeling.
timing and everything. It just kind of
Yeah,
was like, and no hard feelings or anything, but it
sure.
just wasn't for me really. But with Emergency Hearts, I was way into it because Scott gives me a lot of freedom,
Yeah,
and he's very supportive. Pretty much anything that we talk about is a possibility.
right.
Like one thing that will be happening. I'm not quite sure when, but I'm probably going to have Klaus from Leatherstrip produce some sign tracks. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm very excited about that. And I saw him at the Mechanismus Fest.
Oh
I
yeah.
finally got to meet Klaus. Yes, finally got to
I
meet him in
haven't yet.
person.
That's one. It's funny. Like, I've
Oh,
crossed
amazing.
paths with so many, and I've just never. One of these days, I'm going to get to interview Klaus. We'll make it happen.
Yes, I think he would be way into it. He's so nice and sweet. And
Hear that
when
from everybody.
yeah, when he saw me, he immediately was like, "Oh yes, Scott's talked to me, and I'd love to work with you." And he's like, "I have some shows and stuff, but." So because when he sent back the remix of Control, I immediately was like,
Ooh,
I was like, "This shit is so good." I told Scott, I was like, "I need to have him produce some Sign stuff because his stuff's so good." I mean, you've heard it, and you probably heard it live too. It's
yeah.
he's just a master at what he does. So that's going to be pretty exciting for Sign's future. Is that I'm going to look into you know working with a few different producers and see where I go.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but Emergency Hearts has been awesome for me, and I'm so thankful for them.
So, from us here at Sounds and Shadows, Rona, it has been a true pleasure having you on. I'm so excited for what you have coming up. Everybody needs to go check out. I'll have a review up for it soon, but for the November 11th release, Mantis Complete, and we are going to spin out to Sex Eye Makeup. And oh yes, yeah, real quick, please tell everybody about Procession Magazine that you guys are on the cover of. Very cool.
Yeah, it's this month's edition with Curse and and I mean, there's a ton of people in here, but this magazine, God, they put so much. I don't know if you have one of these.
I've gotten a couple of them before,
Yes,
and just
they
very cool. They do a great
they
job.
put a
And
lot of work.
I mean, it does. It looks really, really pro, even beyond what I think of that I love of old school zines. They capture a lot of that flavor, but then on top of it, just the photography and everything is top notch.
Yeah, I mean it's really great. So they've been super awesome. Look, dear Goth Dad.
There, you can't get a good old Dusty. I love Dusty. Dusty is
Yeah, so cool. He's a sweetheart. But yeah, so that's out, and got this hunk in there too.
that
Woo
dream.
woo. Yes, that dream. Oh, he told me to tell you hello, precious. He said it just like that. So I bring him in here, but
That's right. I've done an interview with him. This was your interview. This was about you.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah. But he's entertaining our dog, I'm sure. But thank you. Yes, thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me when people are interested in my music and what I do, and also, I mean, Sounds and Shadows. You guys are kicking ass and bringing a community together, which is so important because we can all be so fractured and separated, and I really think that what you're doing is awesome. You're connecting people and being cool. Oh, and I find you very hilarious, actually. I like.
There you go. I'm funny. There. Okay.
So that's another comedy outlet for me is reading your posts. Just random, super adorable.
My cat and food and goth music.
Yeah, I was gonna say or it's about your cat, plotting to kill you or something,
Katie, you are very funny too. So this has been a true pleasure. This ended up being one of the long ones, but that's okay because we had so much fun talking. But please enjoy now as we spin out to Sex Eye Makeup. This has been Rona Rogueheart from SINE. And everybody out there in interweb land, keep it dark, yeah.